Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. And today we're keeping you ahead of that culture curve the same way that we have done for a very long time now, not only on this channel, but also in the reports that I've done in the past about the Walt Disney Company. For years now, the refrain has been that Disney is making big mistakes. And by and large, the response to that has been that it doesn't matter, that we're wrong, that Disney will be just fine, that those who have protested Disney's move into divisive content are simply on the fringe. They're part of some political movement that is small and unimportant and filled with backwards people. And yet, all of the evidence now points to Disney having reached a place where they're really hitting the bottom. I don't know how much farther the bottom can be, but this is already ugly. Let's take a look at it. Before we do, if you like content like this, make sure to click the like button, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell. When you do, you click it and you stick it to the algorithms. We covet your comments, so drop one down below. You are the electricity that drives this channel. And don't forget that the Pro Show starts Thursdays. March 23rd will be the first day, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, we're already looking at the Nielsen Top 10, this from the week of February 6th through 12th. And this is just the beginning of what we're looking at to show how far Disney has fallen, how bad this is, and my gosh, I cannot imagine that they can wait much longer to make big changes. Before we talk about this, too, I want to say that Robert Iger came out recently and did an interview at a major conference, and he talked about some of the changes they're going to make, like cutting the cadence of their content, like cutting the budgets, like moving that content out onto other platforms via licensing. All of that is fine, I suppose, although I do think it's counterproductive to their goals of growing. But the real issue here is divisive content, alienating the audience, sending half the audience somewhere else, putting out political messages that make Disney a politicized company. All of that is the root for where we are. Making the MCU into the MCU, destroying Star Wars to the point they can't do a theatrical release, turning Disney Animation into a second-tier set of studios. None of this is sustainable for the company. My fear is that this will then move to the other segments. How long until Disney Parks is suffering from this same thing? Let's now take a look at the streaming information we have. And what we see is that in the overall, from February 6th to February 12th, really the fear that I had for Disney is coming true. Yes, there are people spinning this and saying that Black Panther holds on to the 4th spot and stuff like that. And some of those people genuinely mean it. They don't understand this is really bad. So let me explain. In the week prior, we did a segment on this and we said, oh my gosh, after talking about Disney Plus's collapse, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is coming out of nowhere. Jonas Campbell and I were talking about this. We said, who could have ever seen this happening? And one of the things I said in that video was, what we're looking for is, can it hold? Can it maintain this sort of enthusiasm, or is this a flash in the pan? Because if it's a flash in the pan, it's really bad. If it holds on to this, then we've got something special. This is a sensation, and it could point to a turnaround. Well, in the week prior, the ratings were that Black Panther Wakanda Forever had over 2 billion minutes watched. Now, 1 week following, it only has 944 million minutes watched. And you might think, well, that's great. And that's a very good number. It's good enough to place it 4th overall. But that is a precipitous fall. That is more than 50% drop in a single week. And what that may indicate is that although there is interest in Black Panther Wakanda Forever during this time frame, which is one of the first weeks of Black History Month, that outside of that emphasis, Black Panther Wakanda Forever does not have holding power. And what Disney Plus needs is it needs content with those excellent holds. It had it with Encanto, but Netflix has had it with a lot of things. Netflix has had it with Wednesday. Netflix has had it with Cocomelon. Netflix has had it with all kinds of movies and shows. Disney really doesn't have that right now. And if you look, whereas Disney was once competitive with Netflix, despite having a smaller subscriber base, Disney is now relegated to a single entry on this top 10, and it's going to get worse. Let's look at the subcategories. In original now, it is just Netflix and Peacock. There is no Disney Plus at all for original content. There's no Willow here. There are no Marvel shows here. There are no Star Wars shows here. Now, granted, The Mandalorian will debut in about 2 weeks on the Nielsen ratings. And you better believe that everybody and their brother and their sister who cares about the future of streaming and analyzing Disney Plus, they're going to be waiting to see what those numbers reveal. But I'll tell you this, no offense to people who love The Mandalorian. I liked the second episode. I didn't care for the first one, but I liked the second episode, and I heard from a lot of people who really liked it. But the problem here is that if The Mandalorian can't pick up big viewership, Disney Plus is really reeling. And part of that would be because we're not seeing any shows that can expand the subscriber base. That's what they need. That's the only way to dig out of this, other than to completely cut the spigot of content. If they close that off completely, sure, you can start mitigating some of those losses. But at that point, can you hold on to subscribers at all? And we have not heard anything in terms of promotion from Disney or any of their partners, a la Samba TV, coming out and saying, oh, The Mandalorian was number one. We haven't heard any of that. Again, if we go to acquired shows, there's one show on here, Bluey. We've said it before, we'll say it again. This is a show that is licensed from the BBC, and Disney treats this show poorly. It censors shows from Bluey. Now, you've never seen the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, show up on any of these charts. You've never seen Willow show up on any of these charts. And Disney is always eager to have that content. Disney never censors that. But Disney never succeeds with it either. Here's Bluey. It's a show that's highly successful for Disney. They should be doing everything in their power to keep it, hold it, to nourish it, to make sure that they have the rights to it for as long as possible. Instead, they censor it. I'm not sure that Disney has a business mindset at this point, not a successful one. If we go to movies, here's where this is bad. If you're Disney, this is bad. If you're a person who wants to see Disney suffer and perhaps see it course correct as a result of it, well, maybe you like this. But if you're a Disney manager, if you're in the C-suite, if you're a major stockholder, this is bad. Yes, Disney Plus, Black Panther Wakanda Forever takes number one at 944 million minutes watched. If that drops another 50%, though, you can see how that will quickly fall off the charts. But here's what's bad. There is no other Disney Plus movie on here any longer. There is no Encanto. There is no Moana. There is no Frozen. There definitely is no Turning Red. There definitely is no Lightyear. There definitely is no Strange World. Disney has a built-in advantage. We've talked about this many times. We won't go over it too much. But children watch movies over and over. And Disney specializes in children's movies. Anytime a streaming platform has a popular children's movie, that movie is almost certainly going to be high up on the charts because adults don't watch adult movies to the same frequency that children watch children's movies. It's not even close. So when you look on here and you see Pamela, A Love Story, now beating everything except for Black Panther Wakanda Forever in terms of Disney Plus. It's catastrophically bad. Catastrophically bad. And now the question we have to ask ourselves, we have been claiming for years now. I've been doing this, I guess, since 2017, even though this channel is only 3 months old. I've been doing this since 2017 and talking about this, analyzing this, and saying Disney is headed in a bad direction. Disney is heading to a place it doesn't want to go. We're here now. And the question is, how long will Disney allow itself to fall before the adults take over? And that really is what I'm saying here. The adults need to take over. The adults need to put Disney back on a track where they're appealing to the broadest demographics possible. It's enough with the ideologies. It's enough with being highly partisan and political. That's enough of it. Either that or we're looking at the demise of Disney. And that's possible. We've seen huge companies go under before. But I am amazed that Disney would let itself fall so sharply without at least attempting to correct its political positions, to correct its partisan division, to correct its socio-cultural push where employees who are promoted are out there declaring that it's part of a not-so-secret agenda in children's programming. How terrifying. You know what else is terrifying for Disney? If you want to know just how far it's fallen, you remember in those charts, there's one single Marvel entry, and it's dropping. We'll see. Maybe it will plateau, and we won't have quite the precipitous drop in the next week. But there are no other Marvel shows on there. And if we look at the box office, it's worse. Take a look at this from the Hollywood Handle. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is tracking to end with a higher worldwide box office than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Holy cow. This is a Phase 5 starter. This is supposed to kick off the entire saga. Puss in Boots was almost a direct-to-streaming movie that they threw in the box office to make some cash. And it is essentially revivifying the entire Shrek franchise. We may get Shrek 5 off this thing. Audiences are desperate for good movies. They're not desperate for Quantumania. And you want to know how we know it's bad? Because the things we've been saying now for years are finally being called out by major websites. This is from CBR.com. Quantumania hit a skid at the box office, but is there hope for the rest of Phase 5? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is dealing with critical and financial freefall, and it may be a sign of things to come for some future MCU films. This by Timothy Donahue. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the first part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 5, but it's not starting things off on the right foot. Beyond its tepid at best reviews, the film is also underperforming the box office. That continues a downward trend for Marvel Studios' shared universe, and it may only get worse. Quantumania had a lot riding on it, despite being a sequel to the more low-key Ant-Man films. Its negative fallout has seen it break MCU records in the wrong direction, and the movie could definitely end up being a flop. It will, by the way. It will lose $100 million plus. With so much still up in the air for the Marvel's future, this isn't exactly the boost of confidence the studio needed to get things back on track. It goes on to basically talk about just how bad this is and just how poorly, for example, the Marvels may do. Yes, we're going to get a bump out of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where the future head of DC, the future competitor directly to Disney, will have a send-off with his characters that he created or at least developed in the cinematic universe. They're quite different than their comic book versions. But as far as Kang the Conqueror, as far as this saga with the multiverse, this looks bad. And again, we just have to sit back and wonder how long until Disney is forced to course correct. So when you watch this channel in the future, just know we've talked about Disney for a long time now. We've talked about their mistakes. We need to transition. And it's not that we're going to stop calling Disney out. It's not that I or my guests are going to stop calling balls and strikes as best we can. We're not. We're going to continue to tell the truth. But one thing that we must transition to is we must begin talking about how this can be solved. Because either Disney is going to go down or Disney is going to have to change. And we need to set a vision. We need to set a proper vision. Something that the company could be, something that the movies could be, something that the theme parks could be if only the adults were in charge. And in that way, when people say, oh, well, you're just negative, or oh, you're just farming clicks by hating on Disney, the answer is going to be no. No, we are casting a much better vision for what could be. Just like when they did this with Splash Mountain, and there was this binary choice that was forced on everybody. Either you want Tiana or you want Song of the South. And it was like, no, I reject that. I want Tiana to have an awesome ride. And here's the part of the land you could give to her. And here's the amazing things that could be authentic to that character and to that geography she's from. And here's all the cool things you could do with it. Right? That's casting a vision. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to start talking about what could be. And then therefore, if there's ever anybody in the room who's going to make the right steps, then surely we'll have laid it out for them and said, here's what we want. We're not just negative. We're not just out to get you. We're not just out at every single step to criticize and critique. We're here to tell you there's something better. We're here to point you higher. We want your aim to be at the greatest. Folks, if you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. You've watched the video now. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep growing, keep learning, and keep having fun.